We recently talked about this post from David Schwartz, aka the prior Ripple CTO. When we think about this post, the main thing that we took from this, because this is regarding the Epstein files, the main thing that we took from this was the fact that Ripple and XRP were 100% targeted. Now we know that Stellar was also targeted, but in this, the main thing that I'm focusing on is that David Schwartz said, I wouldn't be at all surprised if this is just the tip of the giant iceberg. And guess what? He was correct. Guys, what we just uncovered is absolutely shocking. This community, the XRP community itself, is relentless. They will go out. I mean, guys, I remember the SEC lawsuit. During that entire time, the amount of researchers in this space that were finding the craziest documents. I mean, guys, it was insane. But this is why this community is so incredible. We have people in this space that will dig and dig and dig until they find every single detail. I want to start off with this post here from the Bearable Bull because we have here. So you mean to tell me Epstein hired Jay Clayton and Gary Gensler to suppress Ripple and XRP with a 5-year SEC lawsuit because it was a threat to Bitcoin and its failed technology? Bitcoin failed as a payment system. XRP was always the one and Epstein knew it. The truth will be hard for them to swallow. Because if you guys haven't been, looking into what's been happening over the last couple weeks, yeah, Bitcoin, it's not looking good for Bitcoin. A lot of the early Bitcoin devs were funded by Epstein. Not only that, but Bitcoin was essentially created as a currency to get around, AML systems and KYC systems. Now, over time, yes, Bitcoin has changed. There's a lot of things that have happened, but the main focus of this is that, yes, Bitcoin was heavily supported by Epstein. This is shocking. But it's not a big surprise to me at all because for years we know that Bitcoin has been utilized in the craziest ways possible, especially illegal activity. But this is not new news. We know about Silk Road. We know about the dark web use cases for Bitcoin. It's always going to be there. But when we think about the early development of Bitcoin coming from Epstein money, I mean, that's shocking to me. Now we go over here. Because Alex Cobb posted, wow, even up to March of 2019, people were making sure Epstein was in the loop on XRP. Weird. Now, this originally got posted from Cowboy Crypto, which we'll talk about that here in a second. But the main thing here was a full post regarding Coinbase being in the middle of a massive controversy. Kraken CEO believes Ripple's XRP and the Neutrino startup are involved. Now, we're going to get into the details of this, but this is a very big deal because if you guys do know, right, Coinbase was one of the, few exchanges initially, we're talking about initially, to delist XRP and announce that they were not supporting Ripple and XRP. It was back on December 28th. We're talking about 8 days after the lawsuit officially dropped. I think it was maybe even 1 week. Coinbase said that it will suspend trading of XRP, the cryptocurrency at the heart of the SEC lawsuit against Ripple Labs. Now, they didn't really make a big statement regarding it, but basically they said that they believe XRP was, a security as well. We have here from Coinbase's CLO, we will continue to monitor legal developments related to XRP and update our customers as more information becomes available. Coinbase said users' XRP wallets will remain available for receiving and withdrawal functionality after the trading suspension. But the main focus here is the fact that, Coinbase was not supporting XRP at all. They could have talked openly about, how they do support XRP and they support Ripple in this battle, so they're not going to delist it. But they were, taking the easy way out and they wanted to play it safe and they wanted to delist it. But what's crazy about that is that, when Coinbase started to get targeted for, stablecoin yield, and also even futures contracts and things like that, all of a sudden Coinbase was saying, oh, hey, we need all of your support. This is unlawful. There's no way that the SEC should be able to do this. They were even going after Coinbase wallet, and they wanted, community support. Where was the support for XRP? Where was the support for Ripple? It wasn't there. They were not supporting them. They completely delisted XRP. Guys, I have to interrupt the video because we have a serious problem right now in crypto, and that is data breaches coming from Ledger. That's right, the cold storage device creator, Ledger. This is unacceptable. I've talked about this in the past as well because this is a very common theme with Ledger. It's been happening for years and years and years now. This is also why I promote iTrust Capital. iTrust Capital obviously is an affiliate of the channel. They are a sponsor of the channel as well. Yes, I do make money from iTrust Capital. I'm very transparent about that. However, I also did research on iTrust Capital for years. I've utilized iTrust Capital for years. I've followed iTrust Capital for years. This is a platform that I trust, that I have utilized, that I love their products, especially the premium custody account, because it allows me to sleep at night with zero concern about my digital assets because it's a fully closed loop system. Not to mention, they have partnerships with Coinbase Asset Management, Fidelity Digital Assets, and even Wells Fargo and Fireblocks. This is one of the best platforms to custody your assets. Obviously, if you want to have full control of your keys, then hey, Decent Wallet is very good as well. But this is a fully closed loop institutional grade custody platform that I personally think is one of the best, especially to get away from things like this. So if you guys do want to sign up, there's going to be a link down in the description below as well as in the comments below. And let's jump back on into the video. Now I bring all of this up because we have over here, big shout out to Stellar News 007 for this. These Epstein emails expose why Coinbase and Tether colluded against Ripple. Number one, Coinbase. Epstein invested $3 million in Coinbase in 2014 at a $400 million valuation. And yes, we have that in the documents here. We'll talk about that here in a second. Emails show the deal routed via LLCs. Coinbase co-founder Fred Ehrsam appears to have been personally aware and supportive of the convicted sex offender's multi-million-dollar investment in the company in 2014. Same players later positioned as regulatory allies. Number two, Tether. The Coinbase deal was arranged by Tether co-founder Brock Pierce and Blockchain Capital. Epstein-linked actors tied to early stablecoin plumbing. USDT issuance, offshore structures, and regulatory blind spots discussed. Control disguised as liquidity. Tether has refused an independent audit of its reserves for a decade now. Then came the pattern. Lawsuit launched, XRP delisted, negative PR at a full force, institutions frozen, Coinbase CEO is now against Clarity Act, which is highly beneficial for Ripple. Coinbase and Tether were protected, Ripple was targeted. And yeah, if we look at the documents here, so we have, a question up here. Mr. Epstein is traveling while he is away. Can you send me papers on the proposed transaction so that I may review them before I present them to him? And we have down here, do you still work with Jeffrey? And if so, we are interested in buying the LLC below that we used to make this Coinbase investment. We did this investment at a $400 million valuation. The company just raised money at a $1.6 billion valuation. This is 2018, by the way. And we would be willing to buy a position from you at a $2 billion valuation. We would pay $15 million for this $3 million investment. Let us know if this is any interest. And we have down here, IGO Company LLC, which is a USV1 limited liability company. And then down here, here is the information about the financing from Coinbase's lawyers. When we figure out which LLC will be making the $3 million investment, we will have them change the name of the investing entity. This is crazy. Now, all of this really got posted from, again, Stellar News 007. But let's go back to this post here from Alex Kopp. This is the original post. This is coming from Cowboy Crypto 313. Here we have the documents here. I mean, this is kind of insane. Again, we're going to go over this in details, but we have, so when Brock Pierce is chatting with Epstein about Coinbase, he mentions Fred is in New York. That's, again, the co-founder of Coinbase who started Paradigm with Matt Huang. Matt was the head of crypto partner at Sequoia Capital, which is heavily tied to the Chinese Communist Party. Paradigm was in deep with Ethereum, so is Sequoia. Wonder why XRP was delisted off Coinbase so fast after the SEC suit was launched. It was almost immediate. You can see that, again, the co-founder of Coinbase, Fred Ehrsam, hammered Ripple in the second screenshot attached, where he quotes Ripple stating Bitcoin and Ethereum are Chinese controlled, all while he is partnered with and funded by Sequoia Capital, and Brian Armstrong just happened to attend one of the heaviest Chinese infiltrated universities in America. And just by total coincidence, Matt Huang's mom had an affiliation to Rice way back when. So moving on to Paradigm, who Coinbase is also invested in. Paradigm has deep, long-standing ties to Ethereum ecosystems through investments, open source contributions, research, and direct holdings. This involvement is well documented and spans multiple years, making Paradigm one of the most influential players in Ethereum's development and infrastructure. Early and ongoing investments in Ethereum-related projects, Paradigm has backed foundational Ethereum ecosystem protocols and infrastructure. Notable examples from their portfolio and funding rounds include leading investments in Uniswap, a major decentralized exchange on Ethereum, Optimism, which is an Ethereum scaling solution, across protocol, bridging and unifying Ethereum layers, Etherealize, bringing traditional finance to Ethereum via tokenization, and other focused on Ethereum scaling, DeFi, and infrastructure. Also, if we're going off of Grok, which is AI from X, Paradigm holds significant Ethereum positions. On-chain reports show them moving large amounts of Ethereum, 17.6 million deposited to Coinbase in late 2025, and other transfers, signaling strategic involvement. They have historically invested directly in Ethereum and Bitcoin. So there you go, a small glimpse into the Epstein history of Coinbase and how involved they happen to be in the ETH ecosystem, the same ecosystem that was funded by CCP Wang Zhang before mainnet launch when the Ethereum Foundation was broke and needed bailed out, the same Wei Zhang that had their founder on the board of the SEC approved Prometheum when Gensler was chair. That's why Fred got so mad about Ripple claiming Ethereum was China controlled. He took it personally because of how true that statement really was. The end. And here we have the original document from Brock Pierce. This is the follow-ups regarding this. This is where this link comes into play from Cobb. Because again, this is all regarding Coinbase and the controversy between, Ripple and all of this. But then also on the second page here, we have from Fred, Ripple declares itself a better alternative to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin and Ethereum are Chinese controlled in a last ditch effort to save themselves. Have you no modesty, Ripple? No shame. And again, this is from 12/21/2020. Deep into the lawsuit, guys. And by deep, I mean literally one day. Yeah. All of the anti-Ripple and XRP posts coming from names that were all tied back to this small group that was working with Epstein. And then, last but not least, we have over here from Stellar News 007, the Epstein files just changed everything about Ripple and XRP lawsuit. Jeffrey Epstein asked Larry Summers for intel on Gary Gensler, now the SEC chairman. Well, at least previous SEC chairman. In a 2018 email marked "Do Not Share" or quote, Epstein wrote that Gensler was coming earlier and wants to talk digital currencies. Summers replied that he knew Gary from Treasury in 1990s, called him pretty smart, and noted that he was involved with Hillary campaign and angling for jobs. In 2018, Gary Gensler joined MIT's Media Lab as a senior advisor to the director, Joy Ido. Despite no background in blockchain technology, he advised the lab on its digital currency initiative. This email says the quiet part out loud. Austin Hill admits that Ripple and Stellar were a threat to their ecosystem, meaning the old power circle that wanted control, not freedom. The man who had now regulated crypto was apparently networking through Epstein's circle years before taking office. And what followed? The XRP lawsuit. And yes, you could see all of this. I mean, guys, this is absolutely insane. This confirms everything that we talked about for years and years and years regarding this lawsuit. Now, when we think about Warren as well, because we know that Warren was tied back to all of this, we have over here, remember this post from 2023? Oh yeah, that's right. What was Senator Warren's staff doing coordinating questions and testimony with officials from the SEC before their leader testified before Warren's committee in 2021? Check this out.
All right, a bombshell report tonight about how Elizabeth Warren, Senator Elizabeth Warren, and her office coordinated testimony with the Security and Exchange Commission ahead of a Senate hearing. The Heritage Foundation Oversight Project, of which I'm associated, through a FOIA request, obtained emails from Warren's office to the office of Chairman Gary Gensler 2 days before his Senate testimony back in September of 2021. The email from Warren's economic policy advisor includes a list of questions. Get this, a list of questions that Senator Warren planned to ask, along with suggested answers for the chairman of the SEC. The advisor also wrote, quote, "Let me know if you're okay with the questions as currently written." 2 days later, she sent a follow-up, quote, Let me know if it's looking like the chair has any issue with the framing of the questions. Definitely don't want to put him in a tough spot, end quote. And it appears the chairman didn't have any issue with these questions because Senator Warren asked almost verbatim from the email. Check this out.
Chair Gensler, advocates say crypto markets are all about financial inclusion, but the people who are most economically vulnerable are the ones who are most likely to have to withdraw their money the fastest when the market drops. Does this sound like the path to financial inclusion to you?
And again, this is crazy to see, but it was all coordinated. Every single one of the actions, all of the drama, all of the nonsense, all coordinated, all one by one by one. All of the actions, all of the interviews, all of the nonsense. I mean, this is why for years and years and years, we have constantly talked about why all of this was planned ahead of time. Why all of this was just one big show that you should not be concerned about. This is just ridiculous. And again, it all goes back to, years before the lawsuit was even a thing, that they were planning all of this because they wanted to protect Bitcoin and Ethereum. This is insane. And it does change everything because, again, it also confirms just how crucial XRP really is. It allows us to see into the future on how successful XRP will be. And it also confirms that we chose the right one. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video.